This is the new Renault Espace. Spoiler alert, despite what it says here on the tailgate, it's not a real Espace. And here's why.
Exotique, pas logique, érotique, fantastique, une passion physique. Sexe tapis, pas fragile, le garçon de ma ville, il est très viril. Tu as les cigarettes, bicyclette, le top sweat, je m'amuse sur les couettes.
Renault Espace is 40 years old. It was originally designed to replace the Matra Simca Rancho. Meanwhile, the Simca brand was acquired and then canned by PSA. The family minivan design was deemed too expensive and was returned to Matra, who then pitched it to Renault. At first, the Espace sales were slow, but once customers realized the advantages of a minivan, it grew in popularity. For 4 generations, the Espace was a minivan with a modular interior. Interestingly, the first generation was about the size of today's Hyundai Kona, but still accommodated 7 independent seats. The front ones rotated 180 degrees, and the 5 rear ones could be removed. The 3rd and 4th generation also came in extended wheelbase versions, the Grand Espace. The extended wheelbase versions, even in 7-seat configuration, had a usable boot. Many 7-seaters force owners to choose between boot space or extra 2 passengers. The 5th generation Espace became a crossover, and it was so reliable that I got a tow truck company number along with the keys to the press car, and it did come in handy. My plan was to film the Renault Espace review tomorrow. Today I took the last test drive, and it was literally the last because the car won't start. Basically pressing the stop and start button only gives me an error, a list of errors. It says put the car into parking, which it is. It says control the stop and start. It says check parking, check brakes, everything. So I'm off the phone with the Renault press fleet manager, let's say, and he told me to leave the car here in the car park, in the supermarket car park. They're gonna come and collect it tomorrow, and I hope the next time I get to drive a Renault Espace it will actually work. Now the 6th generation is also a crossover, even if from a certain angle it may look like a lifted estate. And as Renault assures in its press release, the new Espace has the DNA of its predecessors. The question is, which ones? First of all, gone are the days of V6 engines in Renaults. Today you can't even hope for 4 pots. There's only a 1.2-liter 3-cylinder engine, a full hybrid setup, so it makes 200 horsepower. And it sounds like a diesel on a cold morning, so all 1.5 DCI fanboys will feel right at home. Secondly, the new Espace is smaller than the model it replaces. It's more than 13 centimeters shorter, more than 4 centimeters narrower, 3 centimeters lower, and it has a shorter wheelbase by more than 14 centimeters. Not surprisingly, it's 215 kilograms lighter than its predecessor, as Renault boasts. Third, the new Espace is not really an Espace, but an Austral with an extended wheelbase and therefore a larger boot. In the past, the smaller minivan in Renault's range was the Megane-based Scenic, and now the Espace is also based on a compact platform. In any case, today the Espace is to the Austral what the Volkswagen Tiguan Allspace is to the regular Tiguan. And the Tiguan Allspace is slightly larger than the Espace. And like the Tiguan Allspace, the Espace also makes the most sense as a 5-seater. Yes, it can be ordered without the 3rd row of seats as a no-cost option. Then the boot has 581 instead of 477 liters in 5-seat configuration, and that's even before we slide the rear seat forward. And we don't have to pretend that the 159 liters behind the third row of seats is good for anything. At least this time, Renault has added straps to fold out the third row, and you don't have to crawl into the boot to open them, as was the case in the previous generation. Also, the cargo cover fits under the boot floor, but the boot opening is so narrow you have to brandish it to get it out. Also, the boot opening is quite low. I'm 175 centimeters tall and I have to bend down to look deep into the boot. And I'm just an inch or so from banging my head on the tailgate. And like the Austral, the Espace also has a wide sill, so you have to bend over to avoid touching the potentially dirty bumper. Who is the third row for? Certainly not for adults. These seats are for young teenagers who can already travel without car seats. But to get to the third row, you can only have one car seat in the second row. It's a good thing Renault has provided an ISOFIX anchor point on the front passenger seat as well. In general, getting in and out of the third row, even for children, can be difficult because the second row seats only slide but do not lift like in the previous gen. If your child already has some permanent teeth, make sure to get good dental insurance. So the third row is going to be used occasionally and not like in the real Espace. Even if you want to be the super parent who picks up all the neighbors' kids from soccer practice, the kids are going to have their gear bags on their knees because they won't fit in the boot. The seats in the second row slide by 22 centimeters, which not only gives more legroom to the unloved children in the third row, but most importantly increases the boot capacity. The backrest angle is adjustable. Where's the lever? There is no lever. There is a strap which tends to disappear under the seat when you slide the seat. Other than that, there is plenty of legroom and headroom in the second row. That was never a problem. However, the previous generation had third zone climate control and heated rear seats, which are not even an option on this top iconic trim. But the crowning turd in the water pipe is the lack of 3 individual seats with 3 ISOFIX anchor points. How is this possible in a car bearing the Espace name? On the plus side, there is an armrest with cup holders, a ski hatch, commodious door pockets, and the doors cover the sills. Since the Espace is basically a long wheelbase Austral, the cockpit is identical. I'm not going to dwell on the lever that does nothing, or the 3 levers behind the steering wheel. I stand by what I said about this in my Austral review, and I encourage you to watch this episode, or at least the section on the cockpit, link in the upper right corner of the screen and in the video description. Also, since I reviewed the Austral a year ago, nothing significant has changed in the Android Automotive software, at least not on the outside. And I'm not saying it just about Renault, but about all car makers involved in the development of this operating system. What is it actually for? All apps work the same or better in Android Auto. And again, I suggest you watch my reviews of several cars with Android Automotive, links below. Now, the seats are very comfortable, and I found the driver memory setting is actually tied to the driver profile, something that could have been done, like on the passenger seat, without a profile setting. The new Espace has a hybrid powertrain, and it sounds like an old generator in dire need of service. The internal combustion engine is mostly cold and stutters. So on short city trips it's unbearably loud inside, and it's also unbearably loud inside on longer motorway trips because, like the Austral, also the Espace has, soundproofing on a tight budget. However, for a 1.2-liter hybrid, the Espace is decently punchy, although I'll admit that I haven't tried filling all the seats. I don't have that many friends. I assume that Renault designed this car for sitting in traffic and not necessarily for dynamic driving, which you shouldn't try anyway, since the Espace has a nasty understeer. Claimed 0 to 100 km per hour time is 8.8 seconds. I got 9.15 seconds, both in comfort and sport modes. Renault also promises combined fuel economy of 4.7 liters per 100 kilometers. During my week with the car, I managed to get below 6 liters. Except for the speed runs, I drove in comfort mode and I didn't use the eco mode, which could potentially improve fuel economy. I also tried to improve the fuel economy by using energy regeneration. That's what the paddles on the steering wheel are for. By the way, on slippery surfaces, you can feel the transition between regenerative and friction braking, and friction brakes require a strong push of the pedal. By the time I expect the car to be braking already with considerable force, it's only beginning. So as a result, I often have to brake hard at the last moment, too close for comfort to the car in front. A big positive, one of the very few, is the 4-control rear wheel steering. During maneuvers, the rear wheels turn up to 5 degrees in the direction opposite to the front wheels, thus tightening the turning circle from 11.6 meters without 4-control to 10.4 meters with it. At higher speeds, the rear wheels turn by 1 degree in the same direction as the front wheels, increasing agility. Like in the Austral, also here the visibility is atrociously bad, especially around the thick-based A-pillars, which limit visibility at intersections but also make maneuvering in tight parking lots difficult. The compartment where you can store your glasses doubles as a mirror to keep an eye on the children, and everything would be fine if the mirror were a little lower or had 2 positions. I checked with Anna, who's about 15 centimeters shorter than me, and we both would have to sit much higher to see the rear seat rather than the rear window. At least the driver assistance systems work well. Prices of the Renault Espace start at €43,500. This test example is the top iconic trim, starting at €48,300, with options which include better audio system, better driver aids, better headlights, a heads-up display and a panoramic roof. This car costs €53,240. I'm under the impression that Renault is really trying to get us to ditch internal combustion engine cars and buy their EVs like the excellent Megane E-Tech. But the Espace used to be a different category of car, and this, pardon my French, c'est pas Espace. And how do you like the new Renault Espace? Let me know in the comment section below. If you like my sarcastic, down-to-earth and possibly mildly amusing car reviews, join me every Friday at 3 p.m. Central European Time, and don't forget to subscribe and like this video as it helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.